Welcome to Scars of the Past Ministry. I am your host, Patty Adams, DTM and MSP. Scars of the Past is a nonprofit ministry that supports and assists victims of sexual violence. We do this through a holistic approach that allows the victim to become victorious through building faith, trust, resilience, and character. By doing this, the victims will be able to approach life with hope and be productive in their society. We are very passionate about educating our community on ways to stay safe and guarding themselves from the enemy. Our motto is "We stand against violence, we stand for freedom." Our desire is no victim will live with lifelong scars, but instead will be able to walk in the destiny that God has chosen for each of them. Welcome back to Scars of the Past Podcast 2, where today we will spend some time talking about Victims Impact Statement, also referred to as VIS. You were just recently part of a court trial where your accuser was determined to be guilty or not guilty. Sometimes, even when the courts have found your perpetrator to be guilty, the sentencing is usually not what you expected it to be. In most courts, the judge will allow you to write and verbally deliver a victim's impact statement to your assailant. This can be extremely tiring, and at times it will be very hard to even get the words out of your mouth. But this may be the only opportunity you get to face your assailant, use your voice, and express the impact your sexual assault had on you and your loved ones. Here we will spend some time explaining what a victim's impact statement is and why, if given the opportunity, you should deliver one to the courts or have a family member or close friend do it for you. A victim's impact statement is a composed letter or verbal statement to the court at the sentencing of the perpetrator. It is perfectly okay to reach out to those who have supported you to assist you in writing your statement. This can be a family member or a trusted friend. Not only can you ask for help, but you can ask for suggestions on how to draft and how to make a greater impact statement. A well-written VIS will not only impact the defendant, it will also impact others in the courtroom, including the judge. Victims' impact statements was formed as an opportunity for the judge to hear how the criminal action has affected you and those that you love. VIS are not limited to the courts. Many times probation officers and or paroling agencies will allow you the opportunity to present a statement as well. Listen to this victim's impact statement and think within yourself. Did it say what it needed to? Were you impacted by it as a listener? Do you believe the judge sees you now as a person and not just a victim? Do you believe the defendant in this case felt the heart and the emotion of the victim? I was just a little girl. I had hopes, dreams, aspirations. I had been told countless times as a kid that I should remain a virgin and the only man I should ever sleep with should be my husband. You stole my virginity, my purity, even my existence. Because of you, I did not want to live. Heck, at times I did not even want to breathe. Here I was with a gun to my head, made to do things unimaginable for a young kid. You made me do things that till this day I can't seem to get out of my head. Here I lie bleeding, thinking I was going to die. You told me to never tell, and I didn't. You were so evil that when you were done, you then asked me, "Little girl, tell me where you live so I can be sure you stay safe." This was the ultimate cruelty for me. Your actions have affected every relationship I have ever been in. Because you left me with such a stench, I can still smell you when I sleep with other men. Yes, I said other men because after you violently abused me, I became very promiscuous. I felt cheap, dirty, filthy, all because of you. I had triggers for years, and certain sounds and smells would take me right back to that place again. You thought you had gotten away with it, but here you sit on trial today. I lost all my self-worth. I did not think that God would ever forgive me, that He would ever love me. It not only took me years to forgive you, but it took me even longer to forgive myself. I should be angry with you. I should want you dead. I should want you to rot in hell, but I don't. I pity you. I pity a person that is so miserable with their own life that they felt the need to try and steal mine. I pity the person who had no self-control over his own life, that he felt the need to rob me of my peace, my happiness, my joy. Today I know in my heart that there is a judge even greater than the one who sits on that bench. I know that vengeance is not mine. I know that God sees all and knows all. Because of God, my entire life has changed. You probably thought that you had robbed me forever, but your deeds were temporary. Today, I have a successful marriage, beautiful children, wonderful grandchildren, highly educated, and a deep relationship with God. So instead of wishing you rest in eternal damnation, I forgive you. And I pray this day that you will ask God into your heart to save you. Let's take a moment. I need to breathe. That was hard to read. That was even more difficult to say because this would have been my victim's impact statement. This is what I would have written to my abuser had I been able to describe who he was, other than his race and the color of the car he drove. I was just 11 years old, and my perpetrator was never caught. I was never taught to pay attention to the complexion of skin, how tall or short the perpetrator was, if she or he had any defining tattoos, the length of hair, the kind of car they drove, or to try to get a partial or complete license plate. This may sound weird, but I was just glad to be alive. He could have just as easily shot me and left me for dead. I truly believe only the grace of God saved me. Teach your children, your grandchildren, your teenagers, your family, your friends the importance of looking out for these characteristics. Being able to pass this information on to the authorities will assist law enforcement with arresting the individual who assaulted you. Let's continue. I will review how to write a impact statement, the do's and don'ts of writing a statement, what happens to your statement after it has been read in court, and why writing your VIS statement can be healing for you. As you are preparing your impact statement, use questions to help guide you in what you want to say. Writing about your feelings may be very painful and will have you focusing on the assault that you would prefer to forget. Please pace yourself. Do not put too much pressure on yourself to finish the statement in a certain time frame. It may take you days to write out your victim's impact statement. Key things to remember is it does not need to be perfect or grammatically correct. However, for the sake of the other party's understanding what you have written, you may want to have someone proofread it for you. Be kind with yourself and take as many breaks as you need. Ask yourself the following questions when you are writing your statements. How did the wrongdoing upset you and your family? What was the emotional effect of the misconduct on you and your family? What was the financial burden on you and your family? Do you have any suggestions to the courts about the punishing phase of this case? Is there anything else you can think of you would like to share with the courts? The above questions are just a few that come to mind, and is nowhere near all the questions you can potentially ask yourself when drafting your VIS. The questions should be used simply as a starting point. Victims' impact statements are unique to you, and individuals have many ways of expressing how a crime has affected them. Even though recommendations are typically given to you before the punishing phase, there is much flexibility in how you present your statement. There are things you will need to take into consideration. Here are some do's. Write your VIS wherein it can be easily understood by all who hear it. Use as many descriptive words as you can, as this will help bring your imagery to the listeners. Your goal is to help the courts feel your trauma. While no one will truly be able to feel what you felt, you can help others identify with your pain through your use of words and phrases that are impactful. Address the judge or paroling authority when you speak. If you would like to speak directly to the perpetrator, you will need to ask the judge for permission prior to giving your statement. Do not let this hinder you from giving your statement. Better for it to be heard in court regardless of who you are facing than to not be heard at all. Ask permission if you would like a picture to be used as part of your statement. Most of the time the judge would allow this, but do not let it upset you if you are told it could not be used in court. Any visual aid you use must be approved first. Write out your statement in advance. Preventing a statement is emotional. If you try to just give it without it being written out first, it can cause you to stumble and stagger through your statement, causing others to shut down when listening. You may think you know what you want to say, but when the time comes, your emotions could take over and your train of thought is lost. Write it and rehearse your statement several times. This will help you keep your place when reading it and keep you from looking down at the paper the entire time. In the event you feel yourself getting more emotional to the point of not being able to look at the judge or the defendant, then feel free to read the statement directly from your notes. It is always a good idea to have an alternate person attending the court hearing with you who can read your statement in the event you are unable to finish it. Here are some don'ts. Do your best not to express anger toward the court or the offender. Your goal is to express your hurt and your pain, not to blame or accuse. The culpability has already been placed on the wrongdoer, so now is the time to talk about how you have suffered through this egregious act. Do not use profanity or anything that would defame your character, further diminishing the effectiveness of your statement. Do not explain what you want to happen to the criminal, why he or she is in prison. Also, do not use graphic words on what type of harm you want the criminal to encounter. Whatever you do, please, please, please do not put personal information on this statement. This includes no phone numbers, address, email address, physical address, or any other identifier that the perpetrator would be able to use once he or she is released. A copy of your statement is often kept with the courts and a copy given to the attorneys and the perpetrator. This may be hard to hear, but in spite of their deeds toward you, they still have rights. They have a right to public information. Also, do not verbally speak your personal information. The offender could use the written or verbal communication to track you down after his or her release. The entire process, especially delivering your VIS in court, can be extremely intimidating. You may think it will be easy to stand in front of the offender and give or read your statement, but it is absolutely not. Preparing and presenting an impact statement in court or in front of a paroling or probation agency can be nerve-wracking. This is another reason to have an alternate person on hand in advance. Sometimes, if you have worked with a victim's advocate, they will read the statement for you on your behalf. Whoever is going to be reading it, if it is someone other than you, please ensure the person is someone you feel can adequately express the emotions in which your statement was written and someone you feel comfortable expressing your words for you. If you submit a letter, this will become part of the court file, the prosecutor's file, and the defense file. Victim's impact statement can also be included in the offender's Department of Corrections file. It could be subject to public disclosure. This is why it is essential to not include contact information in your statements, written or verbally. You are not required, nor is it mandatory to write an impact statement. This is a right you afforded to you. Many choose not to participate. There are several reasons why victim impact statements are valuable. After listening to the reason why a victim's impact statement could be useful and valuable, you can make a decision if this is right for you. The judge gets to hear your story firsthand. Usually throughout the proceedings, the attention is on the offender. Your impact statement has the potential to let the courts hear from the victim, who is often forgotten. This is your chance to share with the judge how you want sentencing to occur. Many times, the prosecutor and the defense team have recommended what they feel is appropriate sentencing based on the offense, but the judge is not bound by that agreement. You can make a difference in the amount of time an offender receives by using your voice. This is true for regular cases and for cases that go to trial. You have the opportunity to address the court and the offender and let them both know how this crime has affected you and your loved one. Many find this helpful in the journey of victimization. By speaking directly to the offender, you get to let them know you are not afraid, and you get to strip the power from him or her that was stolen from you. This can be very beneficial in your emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual well being. The impact statement becomes part of the offender's permanent file. It is a reminder of the harm they caused you. You can get additional help online through victimsupportservices.org. It is a great website that gives you examples of victims' impact statement as well as any information that you need regarding this topic. This has been a pretty long session and a very personal one, but it is my belief that many people have never heard of a victim's impact statement. Scars of the Past Ministry wanted to take this time to educate you about this very critical subject and its benefits. Thank you for tuning in.